We are seeing massive investment in centralized AI data center right now. Why do you believe this centralized everything approach is the wrong model for the future of AI?
So it's a great question. And ultimately, the central thesis is simply that the sort of brute force approach of building out large amounts of infrastructure in centralized locations, ultimately, well, it's expensive, but ultimately, even that expense aside, can't achieve the scale that's going to be needed as AI sort of moves into its next phase that you might characterize as ubiquitous AI. And I think it's worth maybe highlighting a couple of ways in which the demand has changed, because ultimately you need to look at the demand and see how the infrastructure aligns to that demand. And I would focus maybe on two shifts. One would be the shift from training to inference, and the other one I would characterize as the shift from sort of the early days of a chatbot to an AI application or an AI agent. You know, it wasn't that long ago, focusing on the first of those shifts, it wasn't that long ago that most of the infrastructure demand really came from the training use case, where you were, and by and large, I'm talking about the pre-training of large generative models like LLMs. That was driving a huge amount of the infrastructure demand. And in that use case, absolutely centralized, large scale, dense GPU infrastructure makes a whole lot of sense. But as you move into inference, it changes a lot. And of course, and I think we all know this, that, you know, training is really a sort of a mandatory cost that is necessary to realize the value through inference. All the value in AI comes from the inference, and training is simply an investment that we have to make to realize the return that you get through inference. And now, as we're moving into a more mature phase, much more of the demand is coming from inference. And that's a good thing, because again, that's where we get the value. So inference driving demand is a very good thing. And I would argue that the nature of inference is changing quite a bit. And again, that's the shift I'm talking about from the chatbot to the AI application or the AI agent. You know, in the case of the chatbot, I think we really thought of AI as sort of a destination. It was intentional. You went to chatgpt.com to use AI, or you fired up your Anthropic Claude desktop to use AI. It was intentional. It was a destination. Once you move into AI-powered applications and AI agents, it becomes ubiquitous. It's no longer a specific destination. It's just part of everything that you do. Certainly everything that you do online. You go to a website to look for a car, AI. You go to a healthcare provider to make an appointment to see your doctor, AI. Everything that you're doing is AI powered. Probably even everything that you're doing on your desktop, even irrespective of the web. You know, you wanna send something to your kids, AI. So AI becomes ubiquitous. That changes the nature of the demand. And in that world where AI is ubiquitous, being used all the time by everyone, a centralized approach just really isn't going to cut it. And we risk sort of revisiting the old, you know, back then we called it the World Wide Wait. It could turn into large language molasses, for lack of a better term.